War is hell. Sound familiar? Well, that statement may be a quote from the Fallout video game series, but there has never been a more true statement about war. After enlisting in the military and completing all of my initial training, it felt like I was on a plane and immediately boots on the ground in Afghanistan. Without going into too much detail, I was placed on a 4-man team, and our mission was to find where enemy radio's transmissions were coming from. We were on our own once we left the wire. Most of the time, we would find enemy encampments and pass along the grid coordinates to our leadership, and they'd ultimately decide the fate of those at the locations we identified. Of course, we were pretty tight as a team. We trained for a while before our deployment, and bonded as if we were brothers. We had to be that way. We were on our own out there, and we always had to count on each other, especially when shit hit the fan. We had each other's backs. We got orders one day to head out and look for a particular frequency. We packed up and headed out to complete the mission. While on patrol, we would try to keep morale up by talking about what we were going to do when we got home. All that stopped once we began tracking the frequency. It was all business at that point. We had to have situational awareness. We arrived near a small village which we determined where the transmissions were coming from. There was a small path that led to the village. Most of the places in Afghanistan we walked to were remote, but this place had to have been the most remote location of them all. We conducted reconnaissance for an hour or so before we moved even closer. What was weird was we saw no movement, no people, no animals. Nothing was happening, but our gear was showing we were in the right place. We decided to pack up and move closer to the village. As we approached, we could start to make out bodies, and they were lying on the ground. We got to the first body, and I began searching the corpse for any location at all as to what happened and for any useful intel. I wasn't able to find anything, except for some coins. I rolled the body over so I could search the front, and I cringed to myself when I saw this man had no teeth. It startled me at first, but I finished my search and we moved forward. Upon entering the village, we all just froze in place at what we were seeing. There were bodies everywhere. It looked like there was a big battle here, but there weren't any shell casings or bullet holes in any of the huts we investigated. We were all speechless. All we could do was look at each other with puzzled looks. The decision was made to search the bodies for anything that could help us. As I searched the bodies, I began noticing a troubling pattern. No obvious fatal wounds, but they were missing teeth. After about the 5th or 6th body I saw missing their teeth, I stood up to say something, but I could see everyone else had the same question. Panic began to set in a little, but we maintained our composure and began checking our equipment again. This time, nothing was working. The equipment was going haywire, and all of our radios could do was produce loud static. Alex, our squad leader, stood up and made the call for us to move out. We packed up our gear and began to head out of the village when we heard a scream coming from one of the huts. We all turned, weapons raised, ready for whatever it was. It was horrible. It was a horrible, guttural scream coming from a hut directly behind us. Before I knew it, we were moving towards the door. The last thing I remember is Patrick kicking the door open and seeing a brilliant white flash, followed by another scream. Once my eyes were able to readjust, I saw what looked like an old hag walking past us as we were all writhing in pain on the ground. She had necklaces and bracelets made of teeth. The next thing I could remember was me and Alex lying in a medevac helicopter. We both looked at each other, and without saying a word, we both agreed that we both saw the old hag, the tooth collector.